Hi, I'm Danny Brown with Myriad Real Estate Group here with this week's 5. This week we're covering second quarter earnings, a second stimulus check could be on its way, changes to your credit score, real estate news, and mortgages. Number 1, second quarter earnings. Second quarter earnings are set to be the worst in more than 10 years. Right now, the S&P 500 is only a few percentage points off its highs, which means it has almost gained everything back it initially lost. But that's not the whole story. Over 20% of the S&P 500 is made up of only 5 mega companies, and those are the companies who are doing well and make the overall index look like it's gained back almost all of its losses. I bet you can guess who those companies are too. Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Google, and Microsoft. Combined, those stocks have rallied by double digits, while the S&P 500 has lost 1.4%. The third quarter is also looking somewhat bleak, but not quite as bad as the second quarter. The CEO of JP Chase was quoted saying, "Despite some recent positive macroeconomic data and significant decisive government action, we still face much uncertainty regarding the future path of the economy." The uncertainty Mr. Dimon is referring to is how the current surge in coronavirus cases across the U.S. will affect consumer confidence and the jobs market. We also don't know if the federal government will pass any legislation that extends the benefits set to expire at the end of July. Not to mention that the election in the government will certainly impact the stock market, at least in the short term. Number 2, is a second stimulus check coming? With the Senate returning to work and the world still on fire, the Senate is set to discuss a new relief bill. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was quoted saying that they will begin debating an additional rescue package, which will include another direct payment to those in need. As I mentioned in last week's episode of The 5, the HEROES Act was passed by the House several weeks ago, which included an additional $3 trillion in aid. When sent to the Senate, this bill was all but dead on arrival. Now, after pressure from not only the House, but the President himself, it seems as if the Senate is on board with passing some additional relief. Currently, all benefits from the first bill, the CARES Act, are set to expire at the end of this month. That includes the $600 of additional unemployment income that people have been receiving to help make ends meet. Number 3, changes to your credit score. As you know, a FICO score is what banks, creditors, and even some employers use to validate your ability to pay your debts back. The score can range from 300 to as high as 850. It's currently based on your ability to pay your debts, how much credit you have available, how much of your credit do you use, mix of credit types, and length of credit. It all can be very confusing. The changes that are taking place will affect the way creditors and banks evaluate your overall credit. They're going to start looking at your entire credit story rather than a snapshot in time. For example, if you use your credit for all of your purchases and then pay it off every month, creditors will start to see this and understand how you manage your credit, rather than just looking at what your credit outstanding balance is. Furthermore, if you're constantly rolling over your debt through balance transfers, they will see this too, and that could hurt your credit score. Managing your credit will really not change. You should continue to make your payments on time, be careful in how much credit you take out in addition to how much of your credit you use, and you never want to max out your credit cards or lines of credit either. If you are facing challenges when it comes to making your payments, call your creditors first. They should be willing to work with you and keep you from harming your credit. These can be difficult conversations to have, but ignoring them won't help and can greatly impact your score. Keep in mind that the higher your score, the better your rates will be on things like auto loans and mortgages, which will end up helping you save tens of thousands of dollars in interest payments. With that being said, once you hit a credit score of 760, it's all the same from there. Number 4, real estate. For the last few months, I've been reporting on the lack of supply in our real estate market. Last week, there was a significant change in our inventory when over 2,000 homes were added to the MLS. This is up over 19% compared to the same period in 2019 and up over 8% compared with the same 7 days in 2018. The last surge in listings we saw was back in March when COVID first hit and the stay-at-home order was issued. I'm not really sure what the reason for the recent surge in listings, but there is a correlation between the increase in listings and the surge in new coronavirus cases. However, this could all be coincidence. I've also been talking about how eventually we would get to a point where the rise in home values would start to motivate people to sell, which may be part of the reason for this influx. There's also a chance that since the CARES Act is set to expire at the end of this month, that people who have suffered a loss of income are more motivated to sell. We won't really know if this is a trend or just a one-week increase. We will, as always, continue to monitor the market and report back to you each week. Number 5, mortgages. Mortgage applications are back up over 5% last week, while refinances were up over 12% from the previous week. More good news is that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac announced for the 5th straight week that the number of loans in forbearance has dropped and is now at 6% and should hopefully continue to drop. Current rates on a 30-year fixed mortgage, according to Wells Fargo, are at 3%, while a 15-year fixed is at 2.7%. And that's this week's 5. If there are any topics you would like me to cover, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.